Hi, this is Karthik. Welcome to the short session about what's aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, the three main key factors which forms the base of the photography. By the end of this session, you will have a brief idea of what they are and how they play a major role in photography. So, without waiting, let's get into it. Generally, the clarity of the photograph that you take depends on the exposure of light on your image sensor, and as I said earlier, aperture, shutter speed and ISO controls this exposure and they form the exposure triangle, and they are interrelated. Changing any one of this will impact the other two. Okay, to make it easier to understand, before I go into the technicalities, actually I'm not going to cover the technicalities in this video. Instead, I'll give an analogy which I always remember this. Okay, let's consider we have a window at home. Obviously, we all will have some windows in one or the other wall at home, and window will have a frame, and there will be an open space in the window through which the light enters, and the window will have a shutter which it closes or opens, and window will have a glass, either opaque glass or not completely opaque, some transparent or semi-transparent kind of glass. It depends, right? So how I'm going to relate that to this exposure triangle? Let me explain. The size of the window can be related to the aperture. Larger the size of the window, larger the light enters the house. Right? Smaller the size of the window, smaller the light enters the house. Similarly, aperture is a hole in the lens through which the light enters on the image sensor. Smaller the aperture, lesser the light falls on the image sensor. Larger the aperture, more the light falls on the image sensor. The aperture is generally measured in f-stops. F means focal, stops because it stops the light from entering into the camera lens onto the image sensor. Okay, here's the tricky part. When I say f-stop, you will see it is shown like f1.4 or f/1.4 or 1:1.4. It depends. It is expressed in different ways in different cameras. So as the f-stop number increases, the aperture decreases. You have to remember always this way: the f-stop number is inversely proportional to the size of the aperture. So if the f-stop number increases, the aperture decreases, and so as the light entering the camera decreases. Hope you have some basic idea about what aperture is. Let's now shift gear and go to shutter speed. Okay, come back to the analogy. The window will have a shutter where like you close or open a window. If in case, I mean, this not practically we are going to do this at home, but I'm just telling it to understand. In case you open the window shutter just for a short time and close it, lesser the light enters, right? In case you open the shutter for a long time in window and then close it, more the light enters the house. Same way, camera has a shutter which it opens and closes, where based on the time shutter is open, the amount of light falling on the image sensor varies. Shutter speed is expressed in fraction of seconds, as you see in the left image. Here the image of a running fan is captured from a faster shutter speed to a slow shutter speed, and you'll find that the blades of the fan were initially sharp, and as the shutter speed is reduced, the blades becomes almost invisible. Higher the shutter speed, more you can freeze the motion of the subject, like in shooting sports actions or droplets of water, where you can capture the exact moment. And with a slow shutter speed, you can get dramatic change in pictures, like if you want to shoot a waterfalls with a smooth looking water flow, or if you want to shoot a light trails. You can really make creative photographs by varying the shutter speed. Now let's talk about ISO. ISO is the third component of the exposure triangle. So how can I explain ISO? Same analogy. Window will have a glass, either a transparent, semi-transparent or kind of a cooler glass. No matter what time you keep it open, say you keep the door or window open for a minute and you have a transparent glass, and the amount of light entering will be more. In case the glass is a semi-transparent glass and you keep the window open for same amount of time, a minute, but the light entering the house will be less. And if the glass is totally a cooler glass, you keep the window open for a minute, the light entering will be still less. So that glass, the thickness of the glass or transparency of the glass can be related to ISO. Higher the ISO number, higher the transparency of the glass increases. I mean, this is an analogy, right? So you can't directly relate the camera, but you can have this in mind to remember it that way. ISO is the sensitivity of the image sensor. So as the ISO increases, the image quality decreases. Because there will be more noise in the image, lesser the ISO, image quality is more. So where do you generally need to increase the ISO? It depends on situation. In case you are taking the photograph in a very low light and you need to freeze the moment of the subject, then you need to increase the ISO. You have no choice. But in case the same situation, the same low light environment, but you need not freeze the moment like you take the photograph of a landscape. Instead, you can increase the exposure by lowering the shutter speed. But remember, you need to have a tripod for this. Having said all this, we touched upon the three main factors that determines the exposure of the image: the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. I've told at a very high level about this, and I'm planning to make a detailed video of this soon. So stay tuned and please share your feedback. Anything that you feel would make this video better, either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I'm happy either way. Okay, thanks a lot for listening and see you soon. Bye.